call to the order the 947th meeting of the Directors of MSAD 27. Roll call.
Christine Thibodeau.
Here.
Shannon Lugden.
Here.
Katie Levasseur. Donna Pelletier.
Here.
Tanya Wazin.
Here.
Toby Gendreau.
Here.
And Rory Collins.
Here.
All right, we got some adjustments, man.
We do have some adjustments. The first one, I'm asking for a moment of silence to start the meeting. Last meeting, you all approved the hire of Robert Netto as one of our night custodians. Robert was hired by you on May 5th, started working on May 15th, worked a couple of shifts, ended up getting sick, was hospitalized, and through some complications, ended up passing. So
wow.
I think we had an appropriate time to have a moment of silence for Robert Netto. And thank you. Under Superintendent, we're going to add in item B, the Peter Saucier Service Award. Under items of business, new business, items for information, resignation, we're going to add a resignation of a Fort Kent Elementary Ed Tech, a resignation of an Early Learning Center lead teacher, a resignation of an Early Learning Center childhood aide, and a resignation of an SAD 27 board member. And then under items for business, new business, we're going to add a new item I, Fort Kent Elementary 5th grade teacher, and that'll be dependent on budget determinations.
Okay, we have public participation. We have one person who signed up to speak. If you'd like to speak, you're free to come forward.
Mr. Nudea?
Mr. How do you say his last name?
Is it Johannes?
That's just one area.
Okay. Would you like to speak? You're fine.
No, just as we go through.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes. Entertain a motion.
So.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It's unanimous. Did you abstain?
I abstained because I wasn't here last meeting.
Okay. Thank you. So one abstention. Approval of financial statements.
Lucy, is there anything that should stick out to us?
No, we're nearing the end of the school year. We still have, so basically we've paid invoices for work that's been done since probably early May. So we have a couple of months of invoices and payments still to show up for the final year, but so far so good. We did a lot of work in April, May, so in preparation for the grade 6 renovations and moves. But other than that, everything was as it should be.
I'll move to approve the May 2025 financial statements.
Thank you.
And I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Presentation.
I'm amazed to see so many people here today to listen to our end of the year school-wide goal presentations by the Fort Kent Elementary team and the CHS VRMS leadership team. And I'll let whoever wants to start from the leadership team members.
Good evening. Kelly, nice to meet you. Okay, so Fort Kent Elementary School started this year with recognizing that we really need to focus on writing. So we were trained last summer with the Writing Revolution, myself and Kaya Netto and Amber DeVoe. And throughout the course of the year, we all participated in professional development with the Writing Revolution. And it's great because what it did was it took us the whole like slow down to go faster kind of scenario where we all stopped. We all went back to sentence formation. We all went back to use like instructing grammar in this with using this program within their own writing, so it made sense to them. And what's great about the Writing Revolution throughout the course of the year was that we realized that it wasn't something else on top of what teachers are already delivering for curriculum. It's integrates right into all the other content areas. So, like in science, we were able to, what we're doing in science, we're able to write about it using this format. But we're all using through K through 6 the same language with writing, so it's not something new every year for the kids. So we're just building on. So that went really well, and that we ended the year feeling really confident, and we're gonna continue using the structure into the next school year, and hopefully, I can't speak for everybody, but I know at C-Wing we saw a very big difference in the writing our kids were producing, so hopefully that follows through to middle school next year.
I'd like to talk a little bit about PBIS. We just completed our year 3 of PBIS, and we're excited to move on to the next year. Some data from this year, the number of referrals in our SWIS program, which is our behavior incident reporting system, is consistent with the number from last year. However, there's a noticeable change in the number of staff managed. We have staff managed referrals and office managed. So the staff managed referrals have decreased. So that kind of shows that our tier 1, which is what we've been working on, PBIS strategies, are successful in helping the majority of kids be successful in the classroom. There's less need for office referrals. The increase in admin managed referrals shows us that we're ready for tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. We still do have a small population of kids who need more intensive interventions to be able to find success in our classrooms. So we are excited about that piece right there. That's where we're at the year.
What's the difference, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, when you say those?
There's more strategies. You can jump in, Cal. I don't know if there's any here.
Like if I'm not sitting still.
80% of your students are tier
Yeah,
two,
so
is where, like, there's a smaller group.
Like a 20%.
And then tier 3 is where there's a very small percentage of students.
Okay, I see. So it's not it's not a behavior, it's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It's how many students are
In that group.
Okay.
Right.
So we're kind of targeting that next group of kiddos that
Okay.
need that extra.
Nice.
But the responses change based on the tier. So tier 1 is universal. That's what every teacher should be doing in every classroom to kind of set the bar. Like, we don't run down the hall. We walk down the hall. We don't use bad words. We use appropriate language. So that's tier 1. And the data says that most children will follow that. When you get into tier 2, it's those kiddos that need a little more. So it might be small group instruction or small group, coaching with behaviors. When you get into tier 3, which is the smallest percentage, but it's the most challenging behaviors, you might be one-on-one with kids, teaching strategies. It might be in the social worker's hand at that point. So it's more intervention that's targeted for those kids.
So what I'm hearing you say is that it's working.
Yes.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Goals for next year.
Oh.
I have a handout for you.
We have a handout.
All right.
I'm Miss Lori Blazan. Hi.
I'm Ms. Greenville here.
So Miss Leslie can't be with us. She's on the river somewhere.
Surprise.
Good for her. So we had 3 goals this year, and I'll talk about the first one, and it was proficiency-based education in the classroom. And basically, it was our 3rd year of kind of monitoring that through our evaluation system, where we required our on-cycle teachers to provide evidence of a unit plan based on standards, their assessment tools of progression of learning and all that good stuff. To have a sample of what was a 1, 2, 3, and 4 whenever they went in for their conference at the end of the year with the principal, and as well as a reflection of what they learned, what worked for their students and what might be tweaked in another year doing that unit. So, like I said, all our teachers, I think, have gone through it through the past 3 years. So all the different cycle teachers, okay? So that was our proficiency-based education in the classroom goal.
And a few of our early releases were devoted to sharing effective AI strategies, effective practices, instructional practices, as well as concerns. We have shared useful apps with each other, yet we had concerns about student use and how that works in the classroom as AI is evolving, and we plan to continue that goal but change the focus of that goal a little bit for next year. The PBIS team has worked really hard at making positive changes throughout the middle school and high school. We had it a little easier because we had the matrix and the core values. We've been using that we've been nominating students with the core value cards, and we've had the Circle of Warrior assemblies, the Ways of the Warrior assemblies, and recognize student achievements with the core values. Because of that work and other committees around the school, we've raised attendance rates at CHS. Teachers have totally jumped on board with the Swiss program. That's been a lifesaver. And we're gathering lots of great data. And Mr. Schneider will tell you about that a little bit more with his.
I have a question about, like, how do you choose the kids who get nominated for the Warrior, the Way of the Warrior or whatever?
Okay, so Circle of Warriors is different than Ways of the Warrior. Ways of the Warrior, teachers nominate. And there's only, I think, two per grade level.
So at the high school level, it's a team of teachers, the freshman team, sophomore team, junior and senior teams.
Okay.
And we just kind of discuss, who stood out in terms of, and sometimes we try to pick the ones that are very quiet and don't get recognized, or they might have struggled in the past and they've shown some progress to really kind of highlight their positive behaviors.
Have you guys ever, like, considered asking students, like, having?
Yeah, we do have
Because kids
students
really know?
Yes, yeah, kids really, but then, there's that too. We haven't done that, that is a consideration.
Okay.
But also too, we don't want it to be like a popularity thing either, because that can happen as well, but I think that's a great idea to get their input.
For Circle of Warriors, it's completely different. For Circle of Warriors, we take every student who has shown growth, shown consistency, shown all of the engagement invested, the respect, the responsibility, and honesty, who shows all of the core values. We take those students and we nominate all of them.
So something that we started doing at the high school level, because it seems like, oftentimes a lot of the same kids get nominated, so we started keeping a record. So we know who's already received one, maybe freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, because we want to spread the happiness and the love.
Yeah. But I think, like, at
Yeah.
high school level,
Yeah.
middle school, high school
Right.
level, kids, if it's anonymous, kids
Yeah.
will be honest about who is actually,
Yeah.
who their peers are that are that kind of, person.
Good idea.
That's just my, having been a parent in this school,
Mm.
that's my recommendation.
So are we going to our goals for this
Yes.
year? Any questions about this past year's goals?
For next year,
Go.
okay.
You can do the first.
All right, so our first goal for next year is on assessment and accountability. We want to streamline grading practices because there are some differences. We want to streamline legwork policy, timeframes, consistency. We want to revisit grading practices school-wide, thinking grading to align with secondary education systems. We want to look at proficiency-based versus standards-based. Student accountability structures, fixing late work and deadline issues.
Yeah.
It's ambitious.
It's just, we're just kind of across the board, I think, and we want to just kind of streamline that a bit. And work together, cross-curricular as well as grade level teams as well as content area teams.
Yep.
To figure out where we can go from here. Yeah.
But we need to be consistent for the student's sake.
Could you tell me a little more about the proficiency-based versus standard-based grading?
Because we say we're proficiency-based, but really we're standards-based. Proficiency-based means students would work to proficiency before they move on to the next topic. And that's not how we're doing it. We're going standards-based because we work to a standard. We keep going even though the students aren't there yet.
So all our curriculum is based on standards. Math, science, social studies, whatever. It's all based on standards. And proficiency is, level 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 is proficient, 4 is, above proficiency. and a 2 is like not quite there yet. And so, yeah, so we're looking at that part of it, you know, more. It's all going to be standards based because we all have our curriculums based on standards, but it's the proficiency that we're looking at.
Thank you.
So,
Any other question about proficiency?
well,
standards?
yeah, now that you've explained that a little
Go
more.
ahead.
So you're saying that you've got your standards and you're gonna
Yeah.
use your proficiency based to show whether or not a student is proficient at that standard?
We
Or
have.
we're moving away from proficiency
No,
based?
no, no.
No.
Okay.
We're still doing the 4-3-2-1.
We're just
We
trying
always
to
have.
tighten it.
Okay, so that it matches the standard?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So that, well, you know, it's been an expectation that we're doing it across all our curriculum, but it's been kind of like not so much happening in some areas.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we want to have some good conversations about how we can come together on this, to make this better.
Is 3 passing, or are we still at
Yes.
2.5?
3 is passing.
Oh, we're back
Oh,
at
2.5 is passing.
no,
Yeah,
you're
we
right.
watered it down.
2.5 is like the 70. And honest,
And
Just
I
that,
should not
just
be.
that
I
right
don't
there.
dare
2.5
say-
is like a 70, that's,
so there, I'm not supposed to say that, but I will say,
Right.
I've been around the block a little bit. And I remember when this all came out, and I was doing standards-based before. You know, I was always requiring that they met the standard before they even got a grade. Okay, but I'm ELA. You know, for me, my brain works that way. Anyway, either way, it's gonna be, you know, but we've come a long way. Like, honestly, I had some kids this year, my seniors, okay, we're at the end of the line. Back when we started doing proficiency-based, they all thought, oh, we just need a 3. We don't have to do anything more, and a 4 was like way above and beyond, and the sky was the limit. Well, we've gotten a lot better at that. Because I have some students who had a 3.9 or a 3.8 ELA average through the 4 years. Because we got better at showing how can you meet a 4? What is a 4 level work? And so, you know, it's really come a long way in that area. Some more than others.
well, and is that part of what you're rethinking it to align
Yes.
with secondary education?
Well, I don't know where that one came from, honestly.
That was a comment.
Rethinking grading to align with secondary education system.
I think it should have been post-secondary, but, yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
I figured
maybe
that-
post-secondary. Because we do have a system. We have our kids, we have a lot of kids who are taking college level courses right here.
Well, that was part of
So
where
they're
this is coming
dual
from.
credit courses, I feel like, I don't know who I'm tired. But they're dual credit courses, and the dual credit courses automatically have to, you know, they have to have a 4-3-2-1 for our grading system, but they automatically have to have a number system to coincide
Yes,
with
right.
the university
Right, I
system.
remember an
So
issue
we
with
have that
A and A
background
plus.
thingy there. There's a
Right.
background average that's always going on. Just saying.
What do you think the spread
The
is?
numbers gurus. Go ahead.
What do you think the spread is of teachers who are actually doing proficiency-based versus just patching a proficiency-based number on top of a standards-based education?
Well, I would say maybe 25% might be doing that numbers thing, and they shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I'm diehard.
So you're not doing proficiency-based?
That maybe some of them are
Sheets.
taking, maybe some of them are
Okay.
giving a test.
Okay.
Maybe 25%, maybe 20% might be giving a test, giving like 100 and calling it a 4, or having a
Okay.
90 and calling it a 2 point, you know, a 3 or 3, you know what I mean? And so we gotta look at that, because it's hard for kids to go from one
And
class
that's
to
not even
another and have.
standards-based.
And that's hard for kids to go from one
That's
class,
Carnegie.
one class
We
to.
could fill 70 hours
Yes, we
of
could.
conversation
Thank you.
around
I
this
shall
topic.
stop. So I just want to talk about our AI goal. Moving right along. I feel very passionately about things. Still, at this point in my career. Okay, so anyway, well, we noticed a few things about AI, and AI is always evolving. Okay, it's really great. It's a really great tool, but at the same time, we don't want to stunt our students' creativity and being able to think on their own. So we really need to focus on next year coming up with procedures and guidelines to help students, help teachers effectively use AI in the classroom with their students. So, okay, I did an assignment this year, and oh my God, they were done in like 2 minutes, and I was like, what's going on here? So I had a program, which Mr. Mitch is going to give for us next year because it went like by the wayside. It was revision history, and it was like totally, you could tell, blank. Information went in, bang, information went in. I'm like, okay, this, and it was a creative writing assignment that I wanted them to have fun with. Didn't go, oh, by the way, great job with the writing. I'm so excited about that. Anyway, that's it. So it's gonna be just finding guidelines. So what I've been having a lot of my students do after that episode was start by hand. Make your, but we need to talk about this as teachers in general, because honestly, they can find the answer, how to do any word problem, any math problem, and bang, it's gonna be there for them. And so how do we, it's like the calculator. How do we help them, use AI effectively without stunting their creativity? So I had them get to some polished pieces, and then I said, okay, let's see, case in point, graduation speeches. I had my juniors do graduation speeches. We did them all by hand, and then we did some things to add to it, and then I said, they were stumped with adding a metaphor to it. I said, wow, that's a good time to have AI help you figure out what might be a metaphor that you could weave through this piece. Plug it in, plug what you have into AI and see what it comes up with. And then it did come up with suggestions. So that's a really effective way to use AI in the writing process. Don't ask me about math or whatever. But any questions about AI supporting the policies? Big thing, we want to work on policies and procedures and guidelines for students and teachers. And have students involved with that.
How do we treat unsupported use of AI with our students? If our students produce something that's clearly not written by them,
Oh yeah.
Are we managing that as though it's a cheating situation, or are we managing that as just an oopsie?
Interestingly enough, when that happened this year, I sat down with each student and I asked them to help me understand how they used AI as a tool. And I had just a couple of students really break down and say, Miss, I didn't have time, and so I just had AI do it for me. So that was, they knew they had cheated.
Yeah.
But when there were some students that helped them review it for grammar or whatever else it was, that was a different story. But it's understanding the process and how they used it, and developing relationships with our students so that we can understand where they're coming from. I get it, you get too busy. Senior year is very stressful. It can be very stressful. So yeah, we did some disciplinary referrals for that, a couple, just 2, and they owned up to it. Yeah, miss, I did it, no problem. I'll do my time. Okay. Don't want it to happen again. Just kidding.
I think we need to stop saying AI and start saying artificial intelligence, because it's a fake brain.
Yeah.
So kids are being taught not to use their brains.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, really.
At this
It's
age,
an
they
artificial
don't.
brain. It's artificial intelligence. I don't know, I have a hard time with AI in the schools, so that's me.
Any other
That's why we
questions?
shouldn't, yeah. There's none of time.
Thank you, Mary and
Thank
Lori.
you.
you're welcome. I'm sorry it took so long.
Amy and Kelly, did you guys say what your goals are for next year? No.
We did not, but we can.
Are you making them up right now?
Well, tier 2 and tier 3 for PBIS.
Okay, moving to that.
And then
Okay, so obviously science needs to be addressed because we don't have the right amount of time allotted for science, especially at the hands-on stuff. So I think like we had discussed and the whole staff had come together and said that this is a need. So now we're going to look at finding the common curriculum that we're all going to be using, kind of similar to the Writing Revolution where we're all using, we'll make sure everything gets covered. So that's kind of the next goal for us for next year.
Nice.
And also adjusting scheduling to address for that type of lab work and stuff, hands-on science. So.
Cool.
Nice. What about math? Like you talked about ELA, you talked about science, what about math?
Math is we're doing really well in math.
Well, look at the results for the STAR and like all the results, but as they increase in age, the percentages go down.
I don't know, at the elementary level, we're doing
Of course,
great.
I'm talking as a former math teacher, so.
Right.
I noticed the ELA was pretty stable, but the math percentages decreased.
Are you talking about like the end
The
of
testing,
elementary?
the testing.
For
Yeah,
testing?
as they went, like, as you went from, kindergarten to first, second, third, like I saw the testing in in our reports. And I noticed that the percentages just decreased over time.
we do have a data team too that meets 3 times a year to look at, trends and
Yeah.
weaknesses, and we just felt like science right now was something that we really needed to work on. But
And we did
discuss the math during our dad team meetings, and we did come up with some plans for certain students. There'll be some students that are beginning to getting extra help. And come up with
Well, maybe if you reinforce the science, the math, there's a lot of math in science, as long as you're doing,
Right.
there's a lot of math in science.
Thank you all very much.
Good.
Under my report, I did do a posting earlier last week on protecting our children from online threats. It was put on my blog, and then that was pushed out on social media. It was basically asking families to be very diligent on what their students are accessing. And it came with an FBI main information analysis center with the FBI kind of warning that there are groups that are targeting children on popular games, popular apps, and extorting them to try to get them to provide information. And so it's something that's very scary and dangerous, and it's something very real that we felt important enough to push out, and especially now during the summer break where kiddos might be on screens even more while they're at home. It's really important that parents pay attention to what their kids are actually. You might be thinking, oh, it's just that game, but that game, if it has a chat feature and it has ways of interacting with others, there are ways for predators to get to children through those. It's one of those considerations when your child is asking you for the nice headset so they can talk to their friends while gaming, you might want to rethink, what, or at least monitor who they're chatting with. That's really important. So I did push that out. I thought it was important. Other than that, you have, I do have an adjustment for the Peter Saucier Service Award. This is something that we've committed to now doing after Pete's, his passing. We felt that it was important to push out a survey to staff at the end of the year and say, okay, who embodies our core values, who embodies service, who embodies what Peter Saucier was. And although I haven't been able to tell the individual who won, I was looking for him all day today, but he was off. I went to his house and he was not there. So I'm going to make an announcement. I hope he's not watching so I can surprise him tomorrow. But this year's Peter Saucier Service Award is going to be presented to Tom Pinette. So, Mr. Tom, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you for everything, and we'll get this to you tomorrow. Other than that, you have your administrator reports from Mr. Chenard, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Mitch, and Ms. Stacy, and they are here if you have questions for them.
I had a question about the student council. What are their responsibilities at the state level? Like, because it was 4 of the 5 state board positions are now here, which is incredible. But what do they do?
Good question. They meet downstate once a year to sort of collaborate and talk about issues that affect their schools and their education. There's a lot of electronic collaboration throughout the year with the state, but at this point, it's more or less among those kids because they're here. But it's a very prestigious designation.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Can I add to that?
Yes, go ahead.
Because Mr. Dorman has shared with me that they have facilitated workshops with the other student council students throughout the state. And so they have taken a very active role in facilitating leadership, types of abilities with other student council members throughout the state. So he was really proud of them for doing that, and they've done a really great job.
No, this was great to read.
Yeah. Sorry.
Any other questions for the administrators? I'd like to thank you all for another good year under your belt. We'll be starting the next year soon. Teachers are here too. That's good. Thank you. Thanks. New business.
Under new business, we have no retirements. We do have some resignations that were added. First one, I distributed just a while ago an email This is from Jackie Kometic, and she sent an email to Ms. Jill Kelly last week that she has determined that she will not be returning. If you remember, Jackie was offered the special ed life skills teaching that was moving here. She initially accepted but rescinded after consideration. She was then offered her ed tech role that she was before, and is now turning that down, but she does want to substitute as much as she can. So this one is for Jackie Kometic, ed tech 3.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
The second one, you should have a letter from Melanie Poirier, and Melanie is resigning from her position as lead teacher at the Early Learning Center. You'll see later, Melanie's also being recommended for a new position, so that's why she's resigning from this one. This was the position that was going to go with the Early Learning Center that's moving to ACAP. Melanie was going to stay on as our employee, but is looking for a different position. So this is for Melanie Poirier.
Entertain a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous.
The third one is from Olivia Michaud. Olivia also is working at the Early Learning Center, and Olivia has been offered an ed tech position in Madawaska, which she was approved last week. So this one is for Olivia Michaud.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
And then the last one, Toby and I received right before this meeting. You'll see an email from Katie. Katie's basically informing us that she doesn't have the time to dedicate to the position that she'd like. So she is resigning from her position as board member. Lucy and I were looking at it. Katie represents Ward 3, which is all of New Canada, and then that comes down all the way to South Purley-Brook. And in the past, when filling vacancies this way, we've always offered it to the municipality that has the most residents in that ward to fill it. So I believe we're going to be contacting New Canada. If New Canada cannot find somebody, I believe the Fort Kent Town Council can appoint somebody. So I think that's how it plays out. That's how we've been doing it. So we'll let you know how that goes.
So Ben, that raises, it's not a huge issue because we very seldom get to the secretary, but we should probably pick another secretary.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I do that? We do that now?
Sure.
Well, first, how does the board feel?
Is it secretary or treasurer? She's the secretary. Okay.
I didn't write it.
Awesome.
We don't have to do this now, but I just figured.
To accept the resignation?
Oh, we need
do
to
have to
approve it.
Do we
Yeah.
need to accept her resignation?
I don't
She's
believe.
not an employee.
Yeah, she's not an employee.
Okay.
Okay.
That's just a notification.
So she was the secretary, which is our, if you don't have a chair or vice chair, she's the person who would fill in. Could use somebody to help with that. Are we okay with deciding that now, or do we want to pass it for another day till the next person comes in? It doesn't
Let's just
matter.
do it.
Let's just do it. All right. I'm already chair, so I can't do it. It makes it easy. Tanya, you're off the hook too.
Nice.
So,
I don't mind doing it. I pretty much here all the time, and I will never have to do anything, right?
I don't think so. Not a whole lot.
Unless
Unless we're both not here.
yeah.
Unless somebody else is really interested in it, I don't mind sitting.
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous?
Let's give Lucy a second to
Nope.
Thank you.
jot all that down. No transfers. we do have some new hires. Lucy, are you good?
We do have a transfer.
Yeah, we do have a
Oh,
transfer.
we do have a transfer.
Yeah. Dom.
Sorry. We do have a transfer, I'm sorry. And, that is in your packet. After the resignation of Mr. Martin at the Tops Academy, we had a vacancy at the Fort Kent site, which Dom Rossignol, who serves at the SJVTC site, requested. Mr. Karen met with his staff, and they discussed the pros and cons and felt that it was a good move to let Mr. Dom transfer here. So we will be filling the SJVTC one with a new hire ultimately. So this was approved on May 4. For new hires, you have a letter from Mr. Steve Doucette and the hiring committee team, and they are pleased to recommend Ms. Laura Albert for the life science teacher position at Fort Kent Community High School. Ms. Albert is a 2006 graduate of FKCHS, brings with her a decade of teaching experience and holds Maine DOE certification for that position. I do know that Ms. Laura is here to give a speech. The recommendation is for Laura Albert.
So moved. And I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Congratulations.
And then your second recommendation, you have a letter also from Mr. Doucette and his hiring committee, and they are recommending Ms. Melanie Poirier for the life skills teacher position at Fort Kent Community High School and Valley Rivers Middle School. And in hindsight, we should have done this before accepting her resignation, but I feel that you're okay.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion?
I did it again. It seems like we're alternating. You guys can chime in anytime, you know?
No,
This is,
try to
this
jump
is-
the
this is
gun.
pretty easy. Just keep it up. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
So we have the alternative ed teacher opening, we have an evening custodian opening, we have some cook helper position that are open as well. Moving on to item B, St. John Valley Technology Center Integrated Graduation Credit Pathway Approval. You'll see in your packet I have a law, HP 269 LD 436, an act to provide career and technical education students with credit towards high school graduation. So this law went into effect in 2023 and is slated to go to be followed this upcoming school year. It basically tasks CTE centers with finding ways that students can earn credits in certain discipline areas for the work that they're doing inside the tech center. Just to be clear, this is something that's going to probably not be utilized in a whole lot because we do all kinds of remediation through vacation schools and summer school and all kinds of things that get kids that are not caught up to be caught up. So we really do a really good job with that. Where I see this might happening is in the event of a transfer or a transfer from homeschool late in the game where you have graduation credits that need to be made up. And it might be very late, nearing graduation, where a student is missing a math credit or they're missing, a science credit. What the CTE Center has done is they have looked through their programs and worked with both Sharon Chassie and Leslie Marquis on trying to align some things that are happening with the math standards or with science standards or with ELA standards to verify. If a student would be approved to try and get credits this way, there would be a portfolio process that would ensue, and then it would be vetted through that process. Mr. Kevin Lavoie is not here this evening to talk to you a little bit about this. He's in Atlanta, where it's 105 right now, and he's literally sweating. But I do have Miss Catherine Bossy, who is here. Miss Catherine is the Student Services Coordinator for the Tech Center, and she has come on Mr. Lavoie's behalf to explain a little more about this process. So, Catherine, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Hi, I'm Catherine, Student Services Coordinator. So I'm sure you haven't had maybe a chance to flip through all of the credits, but we really meticulously sat down with each of our programs and their instructors and looked at the syllabus and kind of what we were doing already that entailed math or science or art or writing or ELA. So you can see an outline in that booklet about where the credits fall and what each program has eligible credits for. I think an important note, and Mr. Sirwa already mentioned it, but students who are looking to get credit from their programs will be expected to do a portfolio project. So that'll include any artifacts that they have throughout the school year that demonstrate learning or mastery of standards for whatever credits they're working towards. So there's that portfolio piece, and then just to give you a little bit of an idea for the grading and logistics piece of that, these credits will be pass-fail, so you either earn credit or you don't, and those pass-fail grades will not be counted towards the student's GPA, so it won't affect any of those honor parts or anything like that. Does anyone have any questions? I know maybe you've only been able to briefly look through, but...
Who evaluates the portfolio project?
So that's another point that I forgot. Myself and Mr. Kevin Lavoie will be meeting with any students each week who have decided to pursue credit this way. Again, we don't think it's going to be very many students. So we will stay on top of those portfolios, and at the end of the year they'll be evaluated. But the intent is not to supplant a geometry course or an algebra 2. It's just whatever work is being done in their trade already towards math standards or things like that, that's kind of how it'll be evaluated. And you'll see the math is called technical math in there, Vic to the trades.
I will mention that the Tech Center has a certified math teacher on staff. So for math, some of the things she's working on, but some of the things that, are actually happening in the trades. And there was some discussion with Mr. Lavoie about, networking with the sending schools as well, so that, at least there's a say from the sending schools if and when this is to be breached. I do know that the Tech Center did model this off of Westbrook,
yep.
who has been doing it for like 5 years, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. Actually, I think maybe even more than 5.
Maybe longer.
It's been a while. Yeah.
So it has come from something that is being done in other parts of the state. Again, at a very, very small level. We're not looking at a kiddo being able to get all their math credits through the Tech Center. This is in the event that graduation looks like it might be challenging, and we can say, well, this kid went to the Tech Center for 3 years and did this work. Can we justify some of those credits?
And I think the whole point of that is so that you don't have a student who's, let's say, a junior or a senior who may have transferred from another school and doesn't have all of the graduation requirements required by CHS to still be able to access trades and programs at the Tech Center. And I do just want to say about the math piece at SJVTC, we still want to offer definitely those both intervention opportunities and opportunities for students to be pulled from their trades to do algebra 2 or geometry or whatever they're missing as regular high school credit. So that opportunity will still be available for students.
Well, I would just hope that the standards that are addressed at the Tech Center are also the equivalent level as the standards addressed at the high school.
Yes.
So that way it's not, they have to be, I would assume they have to be at the same level.
Yeah.
So a 3 here at the high school would also be like a 3, but although you said it's pass-fail.
It will be, yeah.
So it would be like a 2.5. So 2.5, the standards have to be, or should be assessed at the same level.
Yep, and the standards that you'll see that we're going off of for each of the subjects come from the main learning results standards. So those are all from the state. We followed a lot of what Westbrook did for their standards and sort of implemented those into how is our program being delivered and what are we doing and how do those things align. So yes.
And did I mention that it's a law? No, it's all.
Yeah.
It's a law.
So in order to
Yeah,
be
I mean-
compliant, well, we should be compliant by law by the beginning of the school year. So it's not just something that we made up.
One thing that Kevin,
No, but you just don't want to have it watered down either.
I
You're
agree,
gonna- you
yeah.
know what I mean?
one
We
thing
don't
that
want
Kevin and
this
I did talk about, and Kevin did reach out to all the principals and guidance counselors, is we're gonna keep some fluid conversations going. When we get into one of these, it's gonna be our first pilot of it. We wanna really make sure that we're justifying it correctly by making sure that those standards are, you know, it's not this to this, it's, you know, it's even. And that's the best we can do, and we'll adjust accordingly based on, you know, the feedback we get and how things work out.
And we've been in collaboration with the school counselors at each of the schools and also the administrators and the principals, and have received their approvals as well. Any other questions? Anything I can answer?
The questions would be for the legislature, so I'm not gonna bother you. It's confusing to me, I don't understand what the point is.
So the way that I see it, the main point is that if a student, and just to give an example, let's say a student is in their sophomore year and they fail a semester of English. When they get to their junior year, they really want to go to carpentry. But they sit with their school counselor when they're building their schedule, and the counselor says, well, you're short a half credit of English, so
Right.
you're going to have to stay here to make that up. This is kind of an attempt to stop those instances from happening
Okay,
and make up credits in other ways.
that makes sense. The statute doesn't, but that makes sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would need the board's approval to move forward with this.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
There.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Thank you, Catherine, for being here. Next one is an opportunity to contract our technology director services. The Madawaska School Department's tech coordinator retired, and it was a last-minute retirement, which is why we didn't have a whole lot of time to talk and plan this out. That person has been out for a couple of months for a variety of reasons, and the Madawaska School Department has been leaning heavily on both Anne Marie and Mitch to help out, and which they've done graciously, and we really appreciate that. In looking at the big picture of things with Anne Marie in post-retirement, working for 33, we have a technology coordinator here who has defied all expectations and is doing a wonderful job. And when I see that level of talent, and I know that it can help in other districts, I tend to think that would be a benefit. I did have a conversation with the Madawaska School Committee. We presented a variety of options for them, one being opening the position and having folks apply, another being promoting from within, and then I also presented Mr. Mitch as well. And in the end, they would be very favorable in going with a contracted service if this board would approve it. Essentially, 40% of Mitch's wages and benefits would be paid by the Madawaska School Department. It helps your budget, it helps their budget, and it helps me have somebody I know that I can count on. And so when I did speak with Mitch about this, he feels that with the right pieces in place for them, that it's definitely doable, and so we're looking to you for approval. And we've already factored in the budget proposals that we have later, so.
No pressure.
No pressure.
And I don't have a version that it's not in.
Well, on that,
The thing is, Mitch is not a tech, he's a coordinator, so to be physically on-site troubleshooting this printer or this computer, Mitch is the Wizard of Oz behind the scenes, right? So he can be in Power School anywhere and be fixing whatever. He's already been working on Madawaska's Power School for the past, 2 weeks and cleaning things up, and he's doing it right here from his office in Fort Kent, so.
I make a motion to approve that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous?
You can't escape, Mitch.
We probably should have asked your opinion first.
The next one is a motion to allow the superintendent to fill vacancies over the summer. Until the next school board meeting, I typically ask you to allow me to do this so that we don't have to keep people that have been recommended from knowing if they have a job. We do have a few vacancies. Usually what I do is I send the board an email saying, hey, if you have any concerns, email me in the next 24 hours. Otherwise, I'm going to move forward and let this person know that they're being recommended. So if you
So
could do-
moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Second?
I did.
Oh, sorry. I should have known. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Thank you. New banking authorizations. We have informed you that because TD Bank is no longer a branch in Fort Kent, we have moved to Katahdin Trust. And so Lucy has some information.
Great. So as part of establishing our basic banking needs, one is Visa card. We use that in central office for booking flights and those kinds of process. And then also a revolving line of credit is something that we may need. It's not something that we plan on needing. But it's free, and they said you may as well set it up, and if you ever need it, then you can go to the board and whatnot. So if I can read the motion, I don't have it printed, but if I can read the motion, and then if you agree, that's fine. So
Can I just ask really quick before you do
Absolutely.
that? The revolving line of credit, you would have to come back to the board
this one
before using it, or is there a dollar amount?
There's a dollar amount of up to $100,000. And this would be, a line of credit would only be needed if, in the event of cash is so low and you still have to make your salary payments.
Right. But you wouldn't do that without coming back to the board, correct?
I would not think so.
Okay.
We've never had to use it.
Right.
I've been here 15 years and we've never had to use it.
Perfect.
So this is
Did
just.
we have a line of credit?
I don't think we did.
Okay, so you
This
couldn't
is
use it if you didn't have one?
No, and when it comes to loans of any kind, we always confer with legal before we do any
Okay.
in that respect.
Well, my
So
concern
this
is
is
that
just-
there were all of the rumors that there were these major multi-$1,000 things that had happened that the board didn't get to approve first.
Oh, those ones? No.
So
And you
I
do
just
not-
want to make sure that it's clear that I'm not gonna see on Facebook that maybe we,
Yeah.
spent
In terms of the
thousands
line of credit,
dollars.
that is not, because we've never used one, I'm okay if you choose not to do that one.
Well, I have no
issue
problem with it,
Yeah.
as long as,
The visa is something that we really need.
yeah.
That's the critical one.
Yeah.
The line of credit, if you're not comfortable with it, that's fine. I'm okay with that.
And the Visa card is a credit card.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we've always.
Yeah, no, I don't have any
Yeah.
problem with the line of
No.
credit. What I want to make clear is that you aren't just authorizing tens of thousands of dollars without coming back to the board
So-
first,
so
as was
I'll be clear,
accused.
the only thing that we're allowed to spend is what you approve under a budget. Otherwise, if it's outside of a budget, we'd have to come to
You have to come
for
back.
approval.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Just,
Can we put in there that before you use a line of credit that you do request our approval? So that way
Yes.
the voters will be it'll be that much more
Yes.
transparent
Yeah.
versus. So can you
yeah,
get it?
I have no concerns about it. I'm just concerned about the way everybody else, or others have talked about it.
Right.
Okay, let's do the
Yeah.
Visa card first. Motion by one and second to allow the Maine School Administrative District 27 to set up from Katahdin Trust Company a business Visa credit card with a master limit of $20,000. The credit card will be used for short-term working capital. Although this motion gives Benjamin Sirois, Superintendent, permission to sign any required documents on behalf of the school district.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
and the line of credit. Motion to allow the Maine School Administrative 27 to borrow from Katahdin Trust Company a revolving line of credit in the amount of $100,000 to mature on June 30th of 2026 at a variable interest rate of prime minus 1%. The line will be used for short-term working capital. Also, this motion gives Benjamin Sirois, Superintendent, permission to sign any required documents on behalf of the school district. And I added, access to the line of credit will need board approval prior to initiating.
So moved.
Did I get a second?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? I always look up a second too late, I think.
Thank you, Lucy, for taking care of that.
Right, okay. We need to approve the declaration of votes from the school budget validation referendum. Unfortunately.
So if, I'll ask you to read that one when the time comes. So the computation of, and votes from we had 2 articles on the June 10th referendum. The first one was for or against the budget. In total, there were 272 votes for the budget and 480 votes against the budget. So the article failed. Article 2 was whether or not we want to continue the budget validation referendum. That's going to the polls for the next 3 years. Votes for continuing the process were 470, and votes to stop the process were 280. So that article has passed.
Voted that the computation and declaration of votes dated June 12, 2024, and attached hereto be approved. Is it June 12, 2024?
You can change the date. It's today's date, sorry. No, that this will be dated June.
But it's not 2025.
23rd.
But it's not 2024.
Oh, 28. There's too many papers.
Okay, I'll reread that. Yeah. That the computation and declaration of votes dated June 23, 2025, and attached hereto be approved. Further voted, do we need to make a motion on each?
The whole
continues,
thing. Yeah.
Further voted that the computation and declaration of votes be entered upon the records of Maine State Administrative District Number 27. And further voted that a certified copy of the computation and declaration of votes be sent to each of the municipal clerks within the district.
So moved. And I'll second.
Donna made the motion.
Oh, okay, I'm
There you
seconding.
go.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
And I will have you sign this paper if you just want to sign on any line and pass it around.
Good to go on?
I think we're just signing stuff then, so.
Oh, we're signing. All right, budget workshop number 4. This process is new for me as your superintendent. We had a good run of 9 years of passing the budget, but the community has spoken. So our admin team met shortly after the budget failure, and I had been preparing them all budget season long to have your A budget, have your B budget, have your C budget. Make sure that you have a plan in the event that this thing fails. So This isn't easy work because you're looking at trimming things that you said that you needed, or at very best you wanted in order to operate your schools. But you're also looking at positions, and that's always a place where difficult. We were fortunate for some positions that we're presenting today that we had some resignations that allowed us to make some recommended cuts, but not hurt someone's employment. So that's true with a couple of ed tech positions. It's also true with Melanie Poirier's position that she resigned from. That position we're not going to be filling because that's a lead teacher that's not a program of ours anymore. So we were able to remove that. We also had some very generous teachers that took some software that they wanted, and they told Mr. Mitch, no, cut that. It's more important for us to have ABC than have this. And we did look at a variety of things. So Lucy and I have several budget versions to share with you. I will tell you that our goal as an admin team was to bring a zero increase to last year's local tax contribution, and we did so within $1,500. So that amount in one of our versions is $427,870, and that would essentially zero out the tax commitment as compared to last year. We do have some versions that cut deeper. My only concern about cutting deeper is if a budget fails again, where do we go from there? And I did reach out to the town manager just to find out, get some sense of what the town council is looking for. The head of the town council, Mr. Corey Pelletier, did reach back out to me, and although there were no suggestions, he did share that the resolution that the Fort Kent Town Council put forth was based on feedback they were getting from residents, and that he did ask to see, the town council asked to see some of our finances with respect to budgeted versus expended, quarter reports and that type of thing. So we did forward our FY24 audit to the town council because all that information is public and it's in there. So we've made cuts based on a number that we think people are asking for, and that's no tax increase. That's the number we shot for. Not knowing anything else, I guess that we had to go by. Is that fair?
Yep.
So Lucy, I'll let you present what you have here.
So you've got a variety of papers in front of you. First one is, this is for reference only. This one that says failed in the top corner, that's what we presented on the June 10th referendum. And it was a tax increase to the local towns, totaling $429,404 increase over last year's tax increase. In front of you, there's a total of 8 different options. And 4 are based on one base, and 4 are based on another base. And there's only one piece that's different in that base. So if we start with that, then I can scrim it down to 4. So in the sheet that has changes at 4.3, with a blue line partway down, you've got it in your hand, Christine? Yep. So that lists all the changes that we've made on first read, second read, third read, and then now the fourth read. So the fourth read changes are below the blue line. Okay. So that first base of cuts includes filling the life skills teacher position. What happened is since early May or mid-May, when at some point I have to cut off and get a budget number. Once we have that budget number, there are still things that the wheel still spins at central office, and we fill positions, and we have resignations, and we have retirements. And so now I can actually look, and things that I had a placeholder for, I can actually fill with accurate numbers to who's actually filling the position. So life skills teacher, we hired tonight. The curriculum coordinator, life science teacher, we filled. I do have the 5th grade position included in here is filled. Ed tech position eliminated but needs replaced. And then just below it is replacing that vacancy. The pre-K ACAP position not needed, that was Melanie Poirier. That was a position that will not need. GT travel related expenses. So these are parts of cuts that were identified by principals or administrators as something that we can reduce. Ed tech vacancy not filling. We have one position that we will eliminate, and again, I will not name names because these people may not have been notified yet. Eliminate late bus services, and this is the one that is the flag between base 1 or base 2. So in this version here, late bus has been taken out of the budget. In the next version, it's been put back in the event that you can choose whichever way. The value of that is $10,510. There's another ed tech position being eliminated. Another school-based position eliminated. Reduce.
Temporary service personnel.
Oh, okay.
Reduce extracurricular supplies and assistant AD and trip expenses. These were identified by Josh as being able to be reduced. We had a steamer equipment piece for the kitchen at FKES. We had put that in the budget there's one that failed. We were fixing it, but we didn't know if it would work. So in the interim, we had to have the piece of equipment in the event, but it's been fixed and it's working fine, so we've removed the piece of equipment. Mitch has identified some more technology reductions beyond what he had identified before. Valley Rivers High School has identified some reductions, both from the teachers and the admin group. We started renovations in the school and at the Chippy building in anticipation of the grade 6 removal and the change in the grade levels and whatnot. So that's partially complete. The technology director subcontract, and also a technician, technology technician, less 1 day per week than what we currently have. Our liability insurance has renewed at 7%, as opposed to, I think I had 10% in there, so it's brought some savings. We've reduced the school office conference and travel, and the shared HR admin assistant position at central office, I had budgeted at full-time. We have since made that position so that she serves all 3 districts. And thank you very much for hiring that person. She's been a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Our sanity has increased. Yeah, she's phenomenal. So what we're doing is she's actually serving. So this position helps with the postings, the letters to hirers, and those that interview. She also is working on policies, and she's working on FMLAs and absences. So I anticipate that we'll be able to bill out 25% of her salary to the other districts. So the net effect of all of those reductions is $427,870. So that's your base of one of the versions, or 4 of the versions. So if there's anything in there that you're not comfortable with, then let us know. And I know that it's... Okay, so if you want me to go beyond.
No.
I'll give you an example of what the other versions are. So that's the base, and then with the 2 base, and the other base is...
So we can't add any of this stuff back in, though? This is the least that we can take out?
You can do whatever you want. If you don't change anything from my 8 options, we can sign papers tonight. If not, we'll sign papers a different day. That's all. That's the only...
But this is the option that keeps the most stuff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And also.
No, the option with the late bus, this removes a late bus. If you
So
add
this-
back the late bus, that's your least.
What's more, like, I just, like, the idea of taking out 2 ed techs is,
We had the administrators and the director of student services have all.
dry without an ed tech that's really needed in that class. I mean,
Correct.
I think all of our teachers could probably benefit from an ed tech, but, okay.
So how much did we have to cut to have a 0?
The 0, so in this failed version.
It was the 400.
The 429.
429,000, right?
That is the overall
Mhm.
tax assessment. Even with cutting that, there's going to be small increases in a couple of towns because of the change in their valuations at their town level. But it's not much. It's this version, Fort Kent's increase would be 11,000, and Wallagrasso's would be 8,200, and the other 3 would be decreases. And that's because of their valuations fluctuating between the towns.
But this one brings it to where it was 0, basically from, like, there would be no. Just about
In
0.
total, yes.
Okay.
Close to 0, $1,534.
How many students utilize the late bus on a,
Ricky? Late bus, how many students on an average?
does it run every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
I ran it close to 5 days a week.
I think it was 164 days that we ran late bus
Yeah.
in this current year.
And is it used mostly here in town?
And when we don't have flash program, we have a lot substantially less. There's many times that there's very low numbers.
The flash program is after-school activities, learning activities at the elementary school.
Because the practices are not, like it used to be, I know, again, a long time ago. All of our practices were done at 4:30 and everybody got on the late bus and that's how you got home. But it seems like you all are practicing all day, all night. So I was wondering, like, how does it affect athletics? The flash program, I think, I mean, if maybe there's a way we could keep it just for that if athletics is not using it as much. Or is it something that is going to negatively impact? So for football, right, they don't use the late bus much. And so the coaches are driving out to Eagle Lake to pick people up, which is great for the kids that are out there, right? But, so are we gonna, if we eliminate the late bus, are there going to be kids in these, especially in the outlying towns, that aren't gonna be able to play?
More than likely.
I mean, is that who you're seeing on the bus, are the kids in the outlying towns without as much parental support?
It's pretty much, it's kind of half and half.
Okay.
But yes, there's a lot from outlying towns. There are some. I'd say half and half.
Yeah, because, I mean, I would think in town it would be easier for them to catch a ride with a friend, but if you're,
Percentage
Okay.
of kids are in Fort Kent, roughly.
Percentage of the kids from Fort Kent.
But I just asked what percentage of the students are in Fort Kent as opposed to the outlying towns? I know what percentage are.
It just takes a lot more parent support to get them back and forth, and so I don't want to, like, for 10 grand, just, like, I'd rather keep it in the budget, even if it's only 3 or 4 kids that, like, if they can't get back and forth to something that's,
Wallgrass, St. Francis, maybe that's the majority.
yeah.
Of course, Eagle Lake and Winterville, all of them, it's only about Allegheny.
So if you're, if you've got a student that lives in Eagle Lake, do you just drop them, like, and then somebody picks them up part way? Because the late bus doesn't go all the way there?
A lot of them go to the store.
Okay. And you
The
just,
ones in Winterville, usually it's a door to door.
Yeah.
Because they live way out.
Right.
Sometimes it's the store. St. Francis is all usually on the main drive.
Yeah. Okay.
So the difference of the 2 bases, just the base, so instead of $1,534 increase, it would be a $1,244 increase, $12,044 increase in net taxes from last year to this year. And Fort Kent's would be, instead of 11,100, it would be 18,500, which is only a 0.5% increase from last year. 3 towns would be One would be break even, St. Francis. The other two towns would have a decrease of about 7,000 to 8,000, and Wallagrass would have an increase of about 9,500. So that's the version with late bus in.
So we keep as much as we possibly can, and we keep the late bus.
Okay, so you want to go with the version with the late bus?
I mean, that's the motion I would think, yes, but I don't know what everybody else thinks. I'm just being mouthy.
Yeah,
We're not there yet? Okay,
So
fine.
let's look at the option with the late bus, and if you want to go a different route, then we will. So you have a packet that has keeps late bus written in red on the right. So on that first sheet with all the blue, there's you have the original 8 columns that were presented on June 10th budget. So that one right there, Shannon. And then you have 2 columns that have numbers in blue. One is the changes, so all the reductions by cost center. Every cost center was effective except student transportation, because student transportation would have been the late bus. But every other cost center has had some reductions. So your regular instruction, your special education, your other activities, so your sports, your student and staff support, your system administration, your school administration, your facilities maintenance, your school lunch program, and your continuing ed program. And to note that when we went to the May budget hearing, when we approved the articles on that, during that meeting, the first articles are the 11 articles for the school budget. You approve the total budget number. And then there's articles at the bottom that approve the school lunch separately and the continuing ed separately. At that night, once the continuing ed and the school lunch are approved, we don't need to bring them back to vote. But because we felt that it was important to try to reduce in every area of the budget, we decided to include those in this reduction as well. So we will be including those in the reduction in the budget that we're bringing forward. So the grand total of the reductions with the late bus in it are $417,360. So that is basically option 5 is what I called it. So the other versions at the bottom of the sheet with the blue line showing all the changes. So option 5 is all those reductions, but we added the late bus back in. Option 6 has reduction of a kindergarten teacher in addition to the base of changes. So that's option 6. That would increase the savings or the reductions to $523,630. So in your packet, if you want to see what the effect to the taxpayer is you have these 2 sheets. They have the light blue and pink, and there's a sheet behind it, yellow and orange. So those will highlight the amounts to each town, depending on the options 5, 6 base with the late bus in it. 6 is that base and late bus less 1 kindergarten teacher. So the value of that would have all 5 towns with a decrease and a net decrease of $73,206 to the taxpayer. So a 1.3% decrease from last year's budget. Option 7 keeps the kindergarten teacher in. So the base, keep the kindergarten teacher in, but we implement pay-to-play sports. And would charge each athlete $25 per season.
With a cap of $50. So if you play 2 or 3 seasons, it's 50. You play 1 season, it's 25.
So instead of reducing the budget more, it's increasing revenues to offset the budget.
And
that is option
7.
7.
It
It's in yellow in your, so
So
that
it keeps the K and it keeps the late bus.
keeps the K, keeps the late bus. and charges a bit
But they have to
for
pay for
playing
this to
sports. Pay to play. So that would have a decrease to the town, net, an overall decrease of $7,000, which was a decrease of about 0.1% from last year's numbers.
And the thought process behind that was, we're the only country in the world that sponsors athletics under school, and not every child accesses athletics. So it's a very specific group of people in the school population, but it's an overall budget effect to everyone. So that was the thought behind that.
And it would be just athletics, not all extracurricular?
We didn't think of all extracurricular, it was athletics at the time, but we could expand on that in future years. Athletics just costs more comparably than our other extracurriculars because of equipment. And thank God we have boosters that supplement and help. It was just a thought. And some school districts do this. You know, I don't know of any locally, but I do know that I've heard from parents that have said, my relative here, they pay for some athletics.
Well, we pay to have our kids in rec sports.
Would there be you said something about boosters, would there be the possibility that a kid could apply for like a scholarship for the amount of money? I don't know.
I think anything's possible.
Not through us, though.
No, not through us.
Sorry, Lucy.
Just curious.
And option 8 is kind of the go big or go home. It's the base, less one kindergarten teacher, add pay to play. The late bus is in the budget.
For option 8.
And that one would have a reduction of $92,256 to the taxpayers, which is a 1.7% decrease.
Cool. All right.
Wow.
So, then I wanted to ask, how much are we paying for junior varsity sports right now? Do you know about what it's costing us?
I don't know if you have it broken down by JV or.
I don't.
I do know that we have huge numbers in the middle school that are trickling now into our high school that is creating that need. Without it, we'd have to just have cuts, athletic cuts. Numbers per se are. It's an abbreviated season because only Presque Isle, Caribou, there's only a handful of other school districts that have the programs, so it is rather abbreviated.
I don't hate the pay to play. If you're not playing the major sports, you're paying to play anyway. If you're playing hockey, you're paying to play. If you're playing football, you're paying to play. $25 doesn't seem extreme, and I think that our coaches and the families surrounding our athletic teams will make sure that everybody has the $25. I would like to think that it wouldn't I can think of a few times kids that I've known that it would have been hard, especially if they were playing the two sports, to come up with it. But there were people in their world that cared about them and would just take care of it. I'd rather see that and keep the late bus. I mean, we've already talked about the kindergarten teacher. We've already discussed, that was a unanimous vote, that we wanted to keep them for, and there's reasons, that was a good decision, I think.
There's nobody in education that's going to argue that small class size is a problem.
Right.
I mean, there's a limit, you know, and when we hit that limit, I'll come to you and give you a recommendation. We're not at that limit yet, especially when we don't even know.
Grade level.
We don't know how many kids that didn't attend pre-K this year might come in.
I agree with you, Shannon, that the pay to play, because as you said, I think people would make sure that everyone was able to play.
Yeah, I would hope that maybe the boosters did, so it didn't end up that the coaches all had to take it out of their pockets, but it's,
And I just want to.
and I think it could go beyond just athletics too.
I can tell you, if I was coaching, my team would be doing a fundraiser right away to try to earn this money to pay for all the guys or the girls on the team. I mean, when I coached, which wasn't that long ago, we had to fundraise to get new uniforms.
Mhm.
You know, it wasn't a given that the district would buy them for you or the boosters would buy them for you. You had to earn them.
So now can we make a motion?
We'd have to propose
How do we
one of
do
the
it?
options, right?
So the option that you're looking at has late bus back in and
So it'd be number
pay to
7.
play would be number 7,
Yeah. And
option 7.
Keeps
which is
K,
yellow,
keeps the late bus.
Which is the yellow on this sheet.
Yeah.
And is a lesser tax increase than last year.
Yes.
Correct. It's a decrease from last year by 7,000. So Fort Kent would have a slight increase of 5,082. Wallagrass would have a slight increase of 7,151, and the other 3 towns would have decreases.
But that's because of
That's
evaluations.
because of the
Okay.
valuations at the town levels, yeah.
And Lucy, what is the impact of the mills on that one?
Impact of the mills is a 0.91 reduction in the mill, from the mill we had last year. So last year, our mill was 13.63. The mill from this year, based on the new valuations, is 12.71.
So I'll like to entertain a motion for option 7 of this budget read. That's how I want to word it.
Second.
So, heard from a couple people, just, are there any questions, any concerns about any of this? Now is the time to talk about it.
Yeah.
Are there any hidden expenses that you've heard about you want to put on the table? Today's the day.
Please ask.
Please ask. Okay. I will say this before we vote on this. I advocated for elimination of all sports. Ben talked me down, but that would save us $250,000. And if we come back again, that is what I'm asking for. We're the only nation in the world that pays to have kids play sports. If I've got to decide between teachers and that, we're eliminating our sporting programs. I'm asking to have that on our next route through. I just can't. I can't see continuing to tighten our belt around things that are necessary for education in a district that is not, along with all the other districts in the state, struggling with basic needs. We just cannot continue to tighten our belt on the educational programs. So, luckily Ben didn't listen to me like usual. And this is what we came up with, and I agree with everybody with the, I think the late bus as a kid from St. Francis, that was a necessary lifeline. My dad worked in the woods. I wasn't going to get home otherwise. And I like to think of the pay to play as a little bit of a tax, so the kids in the outlying towns can get home at night. So we have the late bus, which coincides nicely with the pay to play, and I feel like there's a nice balance in those two things. So I want to thank you all for Lucy for coming up with all of this.
Yes. Yeah,
this is
Ben for
this is
assisting,
unreal.
the administrators for helping. I think this is a good outcome.
So just to clarify, the total reductions are $417,360 from the first version we presented, and an increase in revenue of about $19,050 to offset the taxes.
Yep.
Okay, so ready to vote? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, so I did note in the motion, the total budget is $16,047,985, as indicated on your option 7 sheet.
Yep.
And with that, tonight we can sign We can next file the referendum and budget hearing. And so this sheet is the motion. I'm giving it to you in printing so someone doesn't have to read the whole thing. But I will need someone to read the yellow portion. And we will put this motion in the minutes. And all this does is set the budget hearing date for July 23rd and the budget hearing for August 9th, the budget validation referendum for August 19th.
So you want someone to read the yellow?
Yeah, please.
I move that the vote entitled "Vote to Call and Approve the Warrants for the Budget Meeting and the Validation Referendum and to Authorize the Notice of Amounts Adopted" be approved in form presented to this meeting, and that a copy of said vote be included with the minutes of this meeting. Second.
Sharon. Any discussion?
We are bound by time limits, is why these dates were selected. And we wanted to make sure that we were as close to school being in session when we have that next referendum vote, just so that folks are not on vacation anymore. And we hopefully get a great parent turnout to go support this budget.
We've had a referendum in July before, and it was very poor attendance by anybody. So we try to avoid the referendum being in July.
Mm-hmm.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Passes.
All right, we had an adjustment for a new hire, Fort Kent Elementary 5th grade teacher. And I apologize, I have letters on my desk in my office that are to you, but I'll just read the recommendation letter instead. Dear Superintendent Siddwa and SAD 27 Board of Directors, we are writing this letter to recommend John Edwards for the 5th grade position at Fort Kent Elementary School. Mr. Edwards comes to us with 16 years of teaching experience in middle school, 3rd grade, and 5th grade. When asked what his favorite year to teach, he was very quickly to respond 5th grade, citing multiple reasons for that decision. His demeanor when describing teaching grade 5 was exciting to witness. It was obvious he had a passion for this grade level and is eager to work with our amazing team. Mr. Edwards not only brings teaching knowledge, but he also has he is a track and field coach. His references praise his work ethic, punctuality, and stated that given the opportunity, they would hire him without hesitation. And I'm one of those employers. Mr. Edwards did a long-term stint in Madawaska this year in music, and the reason he was asked for music because he played the guitar. So I was like, well, he knows something about music, and he graciously did that until April of this year when Madawaska hired their own music teacher. So I'm very excited that Mr. Edwards will join our team.
Need a motion for
Need a
that?
motion. Wait, they haven't approved yet.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Welcome, John.